Hi all. I took a little hiatus from doing some of my videos for a while, and I think it's because, originally when I decided to do these videos, I did it on a dare first of all, but then I was going to make it more about being a paraplegic, and then it's been becoming more and more political lately because everything around us is political, and it's on my mind. Everything you read, it's this things going on, that horrible things, and so I need to take a little break from it and not think about that as much and try to work on other things, like trying to get my short stories published in places and things. So a little break I took, and I may do these not every week. I may just do them, as I think about doing them. Um, just doing them, in a way that just kind of works into my flow of doing things. So I want to talk about. So I am going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the world right now because it's huge what's going on. Um, you probably, hopefully, remember the name Al Franken. He was a comedian and he became a senator. And then there were some allegations against him. One woman claimed that he kissed her without consent during one of the skits they were doing and said that when she was sleeping, he groped her breast, and there was some video evidence on that. So he's claiming that it was he had done it in fun. Um, I don't I don't know about that, but woman number two said that he cupped her butt during a picture that they were taking. That she asked to have the picture taken, and her husband took the picture. But when he put his arm around her, he cupped her butt. Numbers 3 and 4, same things. They ask for pictures, and he cups their butt. Number 5, she claims that it was another picture she has. All these people are getting their pictures with him, so he was popular. So she's claiming that he put his arm around her and touched her breast. Number 6 claims he tried to kiss her on the mouth, and she saw it coming and ducked and got it on the cheek and the side instead. Number 7 says he attempted to kiss her. Number 8 said that he squeezed her waist during a photo that she had asked for, and she took it more than just doing that. But notice one thing they all have in common. Not the fact. Well, two things. One is, and they were all being photographed, with their permission, but that doesn't give him permission to do anything, sexually to them. But the second thing is they were all women, not girls. He didn't walk in on them when they were nude. He didn't rape them. No, I can't say rape, if I'm going to be talking about Trump, because the judges said that the definition of rape did not include inserting your fingers in a woman's private area. So that's considered just sexual abuse. So sorry about that. But Franken didn't go to Epstein's islands over and over and over again where they trafficked sex crime with girls, little girls. He didn't defame them by calling them liars, and then threatening them to sue them. He apologized for the actions that he took, and then he resigned. He took the graceful way out. He said, okay, this is not good for me, and it's the best for everyone if I were to get out of here. And a lot of people now are saying, God, I wish he hadn't done that. I wish he would have stuck around for doing it. And he's actually thinking about rerunning again for a seat. But the difference between that and Trump, Trump abuses them and then he threatens to sue them. And like think of how many women, were girls, when he did something to them, who are afraid to speak up because he has attorneys. He has lots of attorneys. He has zillions of attorneys. He pays these attorneys lots of money that he steals the money from other places, so it's not really coming out of his pocket. He finds other ways to pay the attorneys on that. So for every one we know about, are there 10, 20, 100? How many actually have been sexually attacked by that pervert? How many? Meanwhile, look across at other countries and how they're treating it. Prince Andrew was stripped. He was stripped of his royal patronages by Queen Elizabeth, and then he was recently arrested. That's what should be happening to these people. The UK ambassador to the United States was dismissed. The chief and staff for the British Prime Minister resigned. The former Prime Minister of Norway was charged with gross corruption. The president of Sweden's refugee agency resigned. The head of the Institut de Demont Abrit in France, I don't know France, but anyway, resigned and is being investigated by the French right now. Norway's ambassador to Jordan and Iraq resigned. A Yale University professor resigned. A legal officer of Goldman Sachs and former White House counsel for Obama resigned. A former U.S. Treasury Secretary and former Harvard president resigned. A Pritzker billionaire, and president of Hyatt Hotels, retired. The chief executive of Barclays stepped down. Look at what's happening, elsewhere. Other places where other people have affiliations or had affiliations with Epstein, they either were forced out or did what Franken did, and stepped down, knowing that what they did was wrong and perverted, totally perverted. These rich people just buying this slavery. That's what slavery was. Buying people. So when you're doing sex trafficking, that's slavery that you're doing. And compare this with what Trump is doing. He's trying to normalize it. He's trying to make it like, no, it's okay. I'm allowed to kiss on whoever I want to and grab them by their private parts, kind of things. It's okay. I can walk in on them, and when they're nude, in these shows that I own because it's expected to, and I have their implicit permission to do it. But compare this with every other president out. Some presidents have had, Kennedy. Kennedy had a little bit of thing going on. Clinton, Monica Lewinsky. He was impeached because of that. The world, the United States, MAGA people, Trump, everybody, they're outraged over what Clinton did with Monica Lewinsky, which at least it was consensual, and at least she was not a minor. She was not a girl. She was a woman. And they went on and on and on and on and on about Clinton forever on this thing here. Where are these people now? The ones that spoke out against Clinton, why aren't they speaking out against Trump the way they did with Clinton? It's just wrong, you look at Trump is all over Epstein. Thousands and thousands of times in the doc. No, well, a million. I've heard 1 million now. It's the last number I'm hearing that he's been mentioned in. But like 1 million times mentioned Epstein. He and Epstein could not have been more closely affiliated with each other. They could not have been. You mentioned anyone in there, and oh, by the way, I did find that in the Epstein files. Cowie was in there. Yeah. Colin Cowie, but not Norm Cowie, but there's a Cowie in there. There's probably a Norm in there somewhere too, so maybe Norm Cowie is in the Epstein files. Interesting. So anyway, all these other, with Trump is all over Epstein. 3 of the senior officials are all over Epstein. Elon Musk, all over Epstein. And what do we do about it? The person in charge of the Justice Department has no interest in going after Trump. They're not doing anything to pursue him for all the things that he has done. It's just we need to somehow survive to the midterm elections. And the Democrats need to the Democrats aren't the best people either. You have, many different Democrats who have done things that aren't right either, including a former governor of Illinois who was trying to sell Obama's Senate seat when Obama became president, and he went to jail. Yeah, that's what should happen to these people. They went to jail. But you know what? Trump pardoned them. Look at all the people that Trump is pardoning. All the criminals that he's letting back out. All the people who should not be free. They should be in jail. But Trump lets them out. He's making it normal for these criminals, these racists, these rapists, these fraudsters, these pedophiles, these perverts to all get out free. He's making it normal for them to be able to just be in our industry. If they can find a way to put money into his pocket, there'll be a pardon. He'll give it to him. He sold it to him. He's done. We'll get into him and his grifting later on a different one. But meanwhile, Trump, Epstein, we need to do something about it. Keep saying it. Keep saying Epstein. When hopefully he won't use ICE to change the elections. In the midterm. To like keep people from voting, and then the midterms. The Democrats will come in, and they'll go after him. And that's what they need to do. Because he's obviously guilty by his actions and by his admissions and by what everyone has talked about with him. They know that he's done it. So he needs to go to jail. That guy needs to be in jail. That's all I can say. He needs to be in a jail. Go ahead. He can still have his orange wipes, to put on his face, his makeup to do it, but he needs to be in jail. But meanwhile, while the rest of the world is doing something about the Epstein predators, we're not. And we need to. Anyway, thanks for letting me vent. If you want to check out my book stuff, www.normcowie.com. That's COWIE. Hope to see you real soon when I do another video, and I'll probably be venting again. I'm kind of like a vent in my fireplace. I gotta let it out on occasion. So thanks for listening to me letting it out and venting. And you take care. All right. Bye bye.